Everyone, thank you so much. We have many more. I think there's about 25 people that are signed up for today. So hopefully everybody is going to join us and there'll be more kind of coming on screen here. And I'm Kathleen Miller, owner of Intuitive Lifestyle Success. I am a master intuitive coach and energy therapy practitioner. And my work absolutely around abundance a lot is everything from clearing blocks with beliefs that are in the way to past history of your experience with money to sometimes business trauma, which is very common, of people being sued or going through difficult business circumstances, all of which can really affect your financial health and what you're creating. And so I'm here with the beautiful Dawn Santoriello. How do you say your last name? So I stop butchering it.
Santoriello. You got
Santoriello, yes, who is a certified financial planner. And I'm going to just invite her to do her introduction instead of trying to say that for you.
Thank you, Kathleen. And you got the name right. So as Kathleen said, I'm Dawn Santoriello. I'm a certified financial planner, and I'm the owner of DS Financial Strategies. And I help women reach their financial goals with peace of mind. And my specialty niche is working with spiritual women. And I have clients throughout the whole United States. And yeah, I'm on a mission just to show people, hey, this is the truth about what works with your money and what doesn't work.
Definitely. Okay, and if you are on the call, if everybody can mute themselves, if you, I just hear a little bit of background noise. Unless you're kind of called on to do that, if everybody else can mute, would be great. So that way the sound just stays clear for everybody.
Good. Okay, I got that. I just muted everybody. Okay. And again, if you have questions, type them below. Oh, whoops. Sorry. I muted Kathleen. Hold on. Kathleen, sorry. Wait, how do I get?
Okay, so that's okay.
Sorry about that.
Yeah. That's okay. No, I'm glad you saw it because I would have kept going. So definitely, yeah, start doing this. If you can't hear us, definitely let us know because I would have just kept going. Awesome. So yes, what I was saying before, because there's going to be many more coming online, is going to probably keep going here, is if you want to put in your biggest challenge with money or what you would like to either know more about it or be better with about it, if you want to just generally kind of mention that in the chat, because we will address those energetically and through strategic planning. So that's where Dawn and I, we kind of say we're both sides of the coin. Of I'm the energetics and kind of the internal alignment, and then she's sort of that really clear financial plan of the how-tos, getting it set up, being able to have targets of when you're wanting to retire or whatever you are, whatever stage financially that you're at. And so I'm going to actually volley it to you to start, Dawn, if that's okay, and really kind of look at more of the practical plan in that side, and then I'll go into the energetics. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's great. So today I wanted to discuss like 3 smart money moves that we can make before we retire or before anything. So one is that we want to stop the bleeding. Like, how many of us have all these subscriptions? Like we have Amazon, Hulu, Netflix, Sirius. Like there's millions of different things that we have, and we don't even use them all. So, and actually there was a study here. I want to just make sure I have the right information, check on my notes, that the average American, they think they spend $237. No, I'm sorry. They think they're only spending $79 a month, when in fact, they're spending $237 a month on subscriptions and they don't even know about it. So that's an extra $150 that they have. Now, had they been able to save that, and in 10-year time frame, that's $25,802 that they would have had if they earned 7% on the money. And they were just bleeding that money, just going out the door. So a simple exercise that I would challenge you all to do later today or whenever you have time is go look at your statements, look at your Google Play, your Apple Play, and highlight every subscription that you have. And then I would say cancel them. But hold on, you're going to be able to get them back. And then in the next 24 hours, if you haven't used something and you're fine with it, then okay. But if you're like, oh, I missed that. So go back and subscribe. So that way, now you're making a conscious decision. It's just not money going out the window. It's like that you didn't even know about. Now you're like, no, okay, I choose to have this because this betters my life. And you're also going to save money along the way. So that would be my first tip. So we want to stop the bleeding. The next thing we want to do is we want to build a simple system for wealth, because as you know, we have money coming in from all over the place. Like we might get paid through Venmo. We might have like different, like a side hustle. Maybe we own some rental property, so we have rental income. So we have money coming in from all over, and it kind of gets confusing because we don't have a system. So I actually have a system I help with my clients called Get Real with Your Money, where we break down all that income that's coming in into a simple monthly number. And then we track our expenses. And then we say, okay, after all our expenses are saved, here's money that we have. We could save for fun things like vacation. We have our retirement savings saved, so we have permission there to go spend freely. We have our lights paid, our mortgages paid. And now we have this money that we don't have to feel guilty about. We could go buy those pair of shoes, which I did last week because I had my little bucket that said I could go spend this money. So I took myself on a little shopping spree, and it was fun, and I didn't feel guilty. And then finally, we want to have a roadmap. We want to create a roadmap because if we don't know where we are, how are we going to know how are we going to know to get to where we're going? So, and you want it to be flexible because, okay, if we're like in our 30s or 40s right now, 65 kind of seems far away. So we want to also have that to include, okay, not just retirement, but today or the next year. Like, okay, I want to save for a down payment on a house, or I want to get out of debt by 2 years from now. I want to have my car paid off in 1.5 years. And then we come back and we work the numbers. Okay, how are we going to do that? And then things might change. Maybe you unexpectedly, well, not unexpectedly, but maybe you just become pregnant and now you have a child. So now you have to go plan for that. So that we want to put in there. Or there's a really great opportunity. So we want to have just like a little slush fund for when a great opportunity comes up. A friend says, hey, you want to go on vacation with me? So we want to have a roadmap that's not so rigid that we can't do what we need to do. So we want it to be flexible. We want to have clearly defined written goals. And like, as a matter of fact, what I tell people is, let's pay yourself first, because you're your biggest asset. And people say, well, Dawn, how much should I pay myself? Well, I say, try to save your 20%. So every time you get a check, 20% goes either into your 401k up only until the match, or you put it into another, like maybe your Roth IRA, or you put it into some overfunded life insurance, so you're building your own bank. Do that first, because then everything becomes a lot easier. And that's kind of like my little 3 tips. And if you want more, I have my contact information in the chat here, which I'll put there again. And I'm offering a free 15-minute consultation to kind of go in the particulars, because I know we don't really want to share our particular situation with others on the call. But today I just wanted to give you 3 tips that can help get you jump started to securing your financial future. So again, if you have any questions, type them down below. Otherwise, I'll send it over to Kathleen. And I think we have a question or a comment. I hear 2 different types of spending. Spend on investments when you are cash poor, and spending money with no investments and being cash poor. How do you get to the point where you feel more positive on investing and not having the cash to spend on things you want, but know you are saving for your future? I feel nervous when I don't have cash for emergencies. Well, that's the first thing we're going to do. We're going to make sure we have, like, depending on if you're single or you have dual incomes, you want to have 3 to 6 months of savings. So before you even think about investing, make sure we have just at least 3 months, because if something happens in that time frame and you don't have money, what are you going to do? You're going to go put it on your credit card. You're going to be into debt. So we don't want that to happen. So before you go investing, make sure you have the foundation. Then we'll get to the investing. So that way, so I hope that answered your question. And if not, let me know. And what else do we have here? I like to spend money, and I tend to feel like there's always more than enough, but don't always consider the amount in the actual bank account, because I believe there's more than enough. Next would be debt. Okay, I think we kind of covered that. And then Kathleen's going to go into the energetics, and we'll cover that. So Kathleen, that looks like there's all questions there. So
awesome.
Take it over.
Awesome. Thank you. And you know, part of energetics, I'm really a big stickler on people saying one thing and energetically vibrating at a different one. Whereas a lot of people out there going, oh, I'm abundant and I'll be okay. But there's really like They're not believing what they're saying. I'm very much about energetic congruity of what your body's believing, because your body language always tells them a lot more accurately than what is coming out of your mouth. And then also where the mental, emotional, spiritual, how balanced you are, and all those. And people are like, well, why on earth would that matter for money? It matters huge, you guys, because the people who stayed above water in 2020 and even did better were the ones that had that balance on all those surrounding subtle levels. I was amazed when we first went into quarantine, and I had definitely some shifting of clients, but the majority of my clients had a booming year last year. And part of it really, in my energetic estimation, is because they stayed conscious, they stayed in positive expectation of more and better to show up, and they really aligned with that. They created that. I had people who had 40% increase in their revenue last year. And so what that was a combination of, yes, you get up and you do the work and you have a solid plan, but you're also in the internal game, which in my opinion, if you have the external, like, here's the check boxes of what you do, and you don't have the internal plan, that's where you can be making investments that you're not looking at the other side of, this is a crooked CEO and this one's going to be mismanaged and here's an Enron for you and this and that and the other. If you are aligned intuitively, you are aware something doesn't feel right to even go into this fund, or I want to change, or I want to move things. So I look at like intuitive financial forecasting, but also intuitive financial awareness of being in and getting out of investments, downsizing, expanding, looking at the time frame. So for you guys, I would invite you to be asking those questions of, what am I doing right now financially? And can I intuitively tune in what I'm investing in, which sometimes you're investing in education, you're investing in coaching, you're investing in working with somebody, because if you didn't do that and get the plan, you're not going to get to the bigger future. You're going to be fumbling and like, oh, I'm going to just kind of go in every which direction and follow every shiny ball out there. Or wait a minute, I really want to get on a plan and get really clear about that. So intuitively evaluating where you are, like, is what I'm doing with money, is my relationship with money, number one, healthy? Is it working for me? And is it really, am I on track for a greater financial future? If you can say that and your body feels very relaxed, you feel very balanced, then highly likely you are. If I say this and you go, ugh, or you get a gut check, or you start to feel some anxiety, there's highly likely your body's giving you messages that certain energy centers or chakras are not as strong as they could be about that. Now, your lower energy centers, your base, your sacral, and your solar plexus those are where kind of the money issues, not that you can't have them in every heart center, but the lower centers are where if you have a strong base, I always say the base is where you're going to get the check that's going to cash and be in the bank. So when we get an idea and then it comes through, and then we feel really great about it, and then we decide, yes, I'm going to put energy into this, and then we get a plan, that's the creative plan, and then the base is like, okay, I'm going to take action, I'm going to make the call, I'm going to deposit the check. Now it's like, it's tangible money, it's tangible results when it's going through the lower centers. Because a lot of people with money are like, someday I'll work on that, someday I'll get to a good budget that's going to work for me. And that's where it's like, it's hanging out around here, it's an idea, but it's not really creating change. So being able to have both sides, where like what Dawn's saying is like, here's a great plan. Like, look at what you're choosing right now. What are you spending money on? A lot of people are not aware. They don't even balance their checkbook. They just hope it keeps going and like doesn't bounce too big. And then the other side of, how can I better tune into everything I'm choosing, and how can everything I'm choosing be generative for me to have a greater financial future? So what I mean by that is, all of your relationships are positive and supportive for you to feel very abundant in the world. All of your work that you're doing is really, even though it may have some stress and some demands to it, it's really making you feel exhilarated and that you're on track to generate, and that you're compensated properly for what you're doing. And it's not right or wrong if you don't feel like those things are quite met, because we're always asking from the universe. And that's the big piece that I feel like everyone could be doing better at, is asking for more support, asking for more opportunity. How else can I be doing this better? When you say, okay, I'm getting by. A lot of people, oh, I'm getting by. Oh, I can't complain because so many people had such an awful time this past year into now that I really can't complain. Well, that to me, that's a little bit of arguing for limitation, instead of what would it take to be able to generate the greatest opportunity, so maybe you can be benevolent and assist others, so that you have more choice and you're doing your best to secure your future. So being intuitive, coming back into the body and asking, what else could I be choosing or changing that would be helping where I am right now? I know a lot of financial people out there call it the emergency, start with the emergency account. I don't like to call it an emergency account, because emergency means you're actually telling the universe, give me a crisis so I can spend this money, instead of a space and ease account. I have a space and ease account with a lot of money in it. So what it does is, if something uncomfortable or unexpected shows up, I have the space and ease to have many months of no problem. I can handle that. So that's where the energetics of what you're creating, and that includes investments. When you have an investment opportunity, being able to ask, is this the right time to be doing this? Body, what do you know about this? Is this appropriate for me? Now, my husband's in venture capital, and oftentimes I'm looking energetically at companies and deals and all kinds of stuff. And it's really interesting how so often there's something that looks brilliant on paper, but then energetically, I'm like, I wouldn't touch that with a 10-foot pole, or that person, or that company, or there's something squirrely in the books. Doesn't feel right to me. I wouldn't give that a ton of energy. And so, again, not to judge, but when you can be more intuitive and really tune into what's coming at you, what is in your awareness. And also, this is also speaks to fraud too, guys. When you have an awareness, something I feel a sudden pulse to check my accounts, please check your accounts. When you have a pulse to check, I had an interesting thing that was just like, didn't feel right more than twice. I went and made adjustments around it, and then had a huge awareness of, I just bypassed something that could have been really not fun. And God knows how many hours of cleanup if that fraud thing do that. So making sure your security is up to date. I recently worked with a cybersecurity person who helped to bring kind of up, not keeping your passwords on your browser, guys, making sure that you are really doing like more secured level of email, and everything that you have is really, really important. So making sure those are up to date, but also intuitively tuning in, is where I am and what I have working for me, and how can I constantly be in question of what can generate more, what I'm doing that maybe isn't working. Maybe there's a system that used to work and now it's not feeling as strong as it used to. Or like in the past, I was like, okay, I'm comfortable with this level. And then this year, I'm like, I feel sort of inspired to do some more risk. I feel like I have more bandwidth to take more risk. I feel like now's the time to be striking with that. So now it's like I'm looking and asking the universe, okay, where are these opportunities that will really generate a greater future? Because when you're, it is that mix of both sides where you're really, loving where you are, and really honoring where you are, no matter where that is. Because I know some people that their business went kapoof and they are starting from scratch. So that's not wrong or bad. I've been there in life. And so it's not wrong or bad. And honestly, sometimes that's the shoring up of other parts of your life. And you can build back no matter what happens. So not feeling like you're limited by your age, or you're limited by like what you think you can earn or what you think is possible. Because the moment you say, this is all I can do, the universe goes, oh, okay, we're going to shut every other door, and there's your ceiling right there. So what I would be really inviting all of you is to constantly asking, what else can be created here? What else can I add in? What other investments could just be like off the charts? And what are all the ways abundance can come to me that is really, really working for me? Sometimes I have clients that are really like burning it on the corporate world, and it's really tough on their bodies. And then they're like, going for the bonus or going for this. And I'm like, are you really taking into consideration the cost of health long-term going against that piece? And sometimes for some of it, it's like, there's looking at the energetic demands to what you're doing, making sure you have that balance. I'm all about longevity. I want longevity in my wellness, but I want longevity in my finances, and I want longevity in my across the board, so that there's that holistic balance all the way through. And it really should be that way. Before anything can be created, every single thing for that life form to thrive is all around it. So that includes finances. But what happens is when we get here, what does everybody say? No, there's every scarcity message on all fronts. There's not enough energy. There's not enough resources. There's not enough toilet paper. There's not enough this. And so we go into this constant game of scarcity that is like at levels are off the charts right now. And fear and projections of lack and not enough and this and that. So when you can really be strengthening your core of what is your financial reality and how can that be stronger than all the ones out there, but also still really work in the practical, healthy laws of the universe as well. And that will help you to have that energetic buffer in the world when people want to kind of project the worst case scenario onto you, or maybe just give you their sob story, and you can just be an allowance of the chaos that is out there and the doomsday projections, because there's also boom projections as well. And like, there's more opportunity. But the funny thing is, guys, even in my grandparents lived through the Depression and actually stayed with a family in Chicago. And they for a year, they didn't have work. They stayed with a very kind woman that took many boarders in. And after it was all said and done, and later my grandfather became the editor of doesn't matter, a magazine there, but they became lifelong friends. And like 20 years later, the woman said when they were having dinner, she said, out of all the people that came through, you're the only one that paid me back. Because she said, you can stay here as long as you can. If you can pay me down the line, I'd appreciate it. But who cares? It's a Depression. We're just all getting through this together. And so I really always love that story, because that character of integrity of like, I want to make good on what I'm doing. And even in a depression, when you have every excuse, because how many people have every excuse to skip rent, to pay, to not pay, to be weird with money? There's a lot of people being weird with money right now. So when you say, there's more than enough, to me, that was tremendous abundance that they exampled and that they lived, and nobody was paying attention if they paid back, but they knew it. They wanted that. They lived in cash. They lived very beneath their means and created a lot and left a lot. And so that's something that when you can decide, I'm going to have a greater financial future than I ever realized possible. And I'm going to let the universe kind of show me all the ways that are specific to you, each of you, because some of you have amazing talent. You have amazing knack for a good deal. You have amazing, just right place, right time, so, and it's okay if it's inheritance. It's okay if it's, multiple different ways. It usually is along the way. So really blessing what you have, staying in that abundant mentality, but while being intuitive with a solid plan, you can't not expand financially. Mm-hmm. Okay, so
let's see the chat. I think someone had a question. Okay, can you please type those 3 things in the chat?
It might have been the tips.
No, I think it was yours.
Which 3 things, Shauna?
It was the 3 things that you said at the beginning, but they were flowing. They might be gone now.
I always cringe when somebody's like, what did you say?
Brilliant.
I have no idea. So the way I speak, I tune into the energy of the group and I'm actually speaking to the group. So be intuitive. Trust your money. Okay, so I'll look at you energetically. Okay, so when I look at you energetically, trusting what you know that maybe others really question you, or I feel like other people have, created limits that has nothing to do with you. And like trusting your own knowing with what you're doing. Does that make sense? Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. You should have way more confidence. And this is the funny thing. We all do this. We all can dupe ourselves because when we are aligned, you know what works, you know what you're doing. And then how many times have we gone next to somebody that's just wanting to fit the square peg in the box? And then you're like, oh, I need to be that shape. I need to like be that limitation. And then all of a sudden you're second guessing everything.
Yep. And I struggled with that too. And actually when the pandemic came, I was like, forget that. Cause again, being a certified financial planner, there's this like a stigma in a way you got to be. And I'm a little woo. So I was like, you know what? I embraced my woo. And like you said, I had a great year last year, which I wouldn't have had if I was just my typical financial planner, didn't have any spice to me, So I embraced the woo and followed that. And then I've just attracted people that I want to work with. And it's been great. And like you said, another thing you mentioned, I love, and I'm going to use this now with everybody. I'm getting rid of emergency fund, the Safe and Ease account. That was great. So thank you for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And all the money, like I have a Wild Spirit travel fund. I have, my, just creation fund. So like you said, the slush fund for things, like creating many accounts that are for like what you desire your life to be doing, and allowing little spaces of, what do I have there? Because my travel fund from not traveling for a little while, it's like, man, now I can take a really cool trip. This is fun. And so being able to give yourself that space and honor that, but also have that bandwidth to be sharing with others that are really going without, to be, benevolent with just in life, and also, whatever you are developing or is next for you as well. So any other questions? I know it's 1:30, 2:30 here. So if you have another quick question, I know we want to, respect everybody's time if you guys are on a break from work and everything. But if there's any other clarifications or anything.
You want to go ahead and drop your link to Kathleen so people can reach your website?
Sure. Yeah. If you click the little chat button and then you scroll to the very top, my link and my website is intuitivelifestylesuccess.com. And then Dawn's links, she has several links there that are right below it. So you can see her kind of breakthrough call link and all of those. I also offer a free initial 15-minute call if you're wanting to get more insight on if working together could be supportive for you. And then, awesome.
Cool. And if you want to
otherwise, Dawn, do you have any ending kind of closing?
Well, I was going to say, if anybody wanted to save the chat, all you got to do is go to the three dots and right click on that and you can save the chat. But in ending, just those 3 tips again. 1, cut all the waste out that you don't need, that's unnecessary. Be more mindful of what you actually want to spend your money on. And then 2 is create that roadmap. Well, actually, that's number 3. And number 2 is build a simple system, because money doesn't have to be as complicated as people make it. So again, and I want to thank you all for being here, and thank you so much, Kathleen. I love how we can just combine the woo-woo and the practicality of money and the energetics, and it's really true. You cannot have one without the other. And I'll share a quick little story if we have time. So she's really right. I remember there was a time I had $200 to my name, and I couldn't get out of a parking garage because I was so limited and in scarcity mode. Now my clients were doing great. That's why I was like, what the heck is happening? Why are they doing good and I'm suffering? And it was because I was in scarcity mindset. So I broke free of all that. And later that year, I had my first year of making over 6 figures. So it does happen. Like that's why you can't just be focused on the numbers. You need both. You have to have balance. Like you were saying, it's a holistic approach to your life and bring in balance. So thank you.
Absolutely. And I definitely came from scarcity as well. I was a single mom living on the floor at my sister's, and I was for a short time on welfare, guys. Would never think that. But when I said, okay, I'm bringing a child, I don't mind if I don't care about anything, but I'm not going to have a child that's going to go without it. That's when I was like, game's over. Now success is coming on. I'm going to create, this child would not go without. And, you know, she's just graduated with honors and is like doing well in the world. And it just, for me, that was my motivator, but it also was like building from scratch because I didn't have the best mentality and a lot. I was more destructive with my energy. So I had to learn how to become generative, learn like what Dawn's saying, the structure and the format of doing that. So it doesn't matter where we've been. And honestly, I think I'm better for it because now, you know, we've all had challenges and times where we've gone through a lot in all different ways, but you can be more indestructible from it because you're not afraid of it. I'm not afraid of being without because I have been, and it's no big deal. So
I just
do I
got
want to go back there? No. Am I concerned about it? No. Do I have a fear of it? No, because I know the other side is possible and that you can learn your lessons from expansive abundance as well. So anyway, so thank you guys so much for being here today. Awesome to share this space with you, this time with you. Again, you know, if you want to bring the chat down or just write down those domains, if you'd like to look us up for more information to get a hold of us, please let us know. And otherwise, I really appreciate you being there. This was fun.
Thank you. And I'll send a follow-up email with the recording and everything with all our information.
Yes, I would love that link too. So I will post that in my next newsletter. If for those of you that are on my mailing list, you will get that in the next newsletter too. So thank you so much,
everybody.
You all.
Thanks, ladies.
Appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
Bye.